So things have been rough for the economy and by extension, your business. But there are some initiatives that can help with the economic recovery of your business. I'm Khalila Reynolds and it's time for another episode of Money Moves JA, brought to you in partnership with EXIM Bank's Business Advisory Service, giving you the tools to grow your business. Mark Tracey is Project Executive of the private sector organization of Jamaica, that's the PSOJ'S Access to Finance for SME Project. He's here to help you and your business along a smoother financial path. All right. Hi, Mark. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, how are you doing, Caligula? Thanks for having me.
I'm great. So you are with the PSOJ's Access to Finance for SME Project. I've been seeing this project all over social media, attended some of the events pre-COVID as well. Tell me about this project. What are the objectives?
So in terms of the project, we started last year, March, where we sought to look on the MSME space and to find mechanisms by which we can improve access to finance for small and medium-sized enterprises. And based on the build-out, we would have garnered some traction in terms of getting, I would say, all the stakeholders on board. You're talking about the BOJ, you're talking about DBJ, you're talking about all of the banks, you're talking about the PSOJ, of course, because we have been spearheading the program. EXIM, all the players that are involved in the ecosystem, the Small Business Association, talking about Donovan Wignall and the MSME Alliance, all these players have come on board to form a 14-member panel stakeholder arrangement where we are looking to champion the access to finance facilitation to small businesses in a more efficient and dynamic way. And, we would have pivoted. We were slated to have at least 5 workshops between last year to this year. We had 2. Then, of course, COVID happened. And coming out of that in 2019 and going into COVID, we found ourselves in a scenario where we wanted to look to see how best we could still champion the cause. And we ended up going and pivoting, going digital, where we had our first conference online in August, September. And it was a huge success coming from the other tools that we had in 2019 that were physical. And we have still continued the program, still continued the cause. We had our Go Digital conference last week, Friday and Saturday, where we hosted small businesses and anybody that wanted to have logged on to look on how best we can pivot small businesses into using technology and e-commerce as the new medium of exchange to carry and conduct business.
So just to be clear, what element of it started in March? Because I know the overall initiative started well before March. I remember interviewing Keith Duncan on this very program, Money Moves JA, very early on when we had just started this program and it wasn't COVID time yet. I also know I was pregnant at one of the events and my son was born February last year. So I know you had stuff going on.
Okay, right. So in terms of timeline, I think COVID would have caused 2020 to be a blur, right? So I think we started in 2019, March, where in fact, definitely that was a time where you had conversations with Keith around it. And during 2019, we had 2 physical conferences in 2019. And then COVID happened, of course.
Okay. Right. Yes, so it's 2 years now you've been at it because we're in March again. Look at that.
Yes, time flies, but give and take 2020.
I know, right? So what would you have achieved in these 2 years? Like how many businesses have benefited?
Great. So in terms of the KPIs around it, we have a repository of at least 1,000 small businesses that would have signed up to continue, would have had dialogue with in terms of helping them along the channel. One of the things we've celebrated in more recent times is the work that we would have done in terms of getting, the move to, tier KYC, where, small businesses are looking to onboard through banks and persons onboarding through banks through a more, less rigorous process of opening a bank account. a lot of small businesses have been in contact with and would have helped in terms, we would have helped in terms of banks creating a more friendly ecosystem with the implementation of a number of small business centers within the banks. Also, we've been working with the BOJ and the Financial Inclusion Secretariat to ensure that the access to finance and financial inclusion is moved in a more meaningful way. So we celebrate those. The CEF, we've been doing work with DBJ around seeing how best we can have the CEF more lucrative and available for financial institutions to take up in regards to helping small businesses to access finance in a much easier way. And of course, we would have been doing work again with DBJ around their reverse factoring platform.
I remember attending many of the early events, and a lot of the discussion was about, well, the name of the project is Access to Finance, but a lot of the discussion was about the banks and how difficult it was for small businesses, especially to access finance. I recall what stands out was Mark Gale's comment at the event saying it was like applying for a bank account was like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Have the banks actually been responsive? Have meaningful improvements been made over the past 2 years to make it easier for small businesses to open accounts?
I do believe the banks have been responsive, and we've been getting a lot of feedback from small entities who have been saying that they're seeing the change in terms of how banks welcome them through their doors. Again, I will highlight the fact that a lot of small business centers have been set up within the banks, and that has helped. And a lot of resources have been pooled into training frontline workers around how they advance a conversation with small businesses, helping them to understand small businesses better so that they can serve them better. So a lot of the feedback, would have been positive around, how banks have been performing. And funny enough, going back to the tiered KYC, again, a lot of work would have been done around ensuring that small businesses can be onboarded in a more seamless fashion.
And one thing that we've noticed, Mark, is that even during the pandemic, we have had almost a record numbers of new businesses being registered. So all these new businesses are going to need support, financial support. They're going to need support in so many different areas. So what you're doing right now is so very important. So like we've been mentioning, this project started pre-COVID, and the PSOJ would have envisioned a new economy, a new paradigm for Jamaica. Has that changed since the onset of the pandemic? What is the vision now?
So the vision now coming out of the PSOJ, Keith has, mandated the team, as a leader, he was looking on ensuring that there's efficiency. But given COVID and, what we've coined the fact about COVID is the biggest entrepreneur of them all. It has forced persons to think outside the box as it relates to how they conduct business on a day-to-day basis. And because of that, even in terms of our initiative, we have maneuvered, we have pivoted to now look even more deeply around e-commerce, online technology in the servicing of goods to persons on an ongoing basis. So we've asked small businesses, again, through our Go Digital conference last week, where we are looking to see how best businesses can now graduate from just thinking physical to online presence to give service and present their goods through technological solutions.
Well, thank you so much, Mark, for joining me and sharing these resources.
No problem. It was my pleasure. It's about building the country. It's about building small businesses.
All the best to you.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
And here's a recap of Mark's main points. Small businesses can seek help from business centers at the banks. Small businesses that register for PSOJ's Access to Finance project can expect an easier process for opening bank accounts. And small businesses can register for PSOJ'S Access to Finance program for guidance on enhancing their online presence.
Your business may be facing unprecedented challenges due to the impact of COVID-19 on the economy. It's important that you take advantage of the opportunities to allow you to cross this chasm of uncertainty to sustainable viability during and post-COVID. That's it for this episode of Money Moves JA, brought to you in partnership with EXIM Bank's Business Advisory Service, giving you the tools to grow your business. Visit their website at eximbankja.com and visit my website, KalilaReynolds.com, for a summary of this episode. You can click the link up here or in the description box below. I'm Kalila Reynolds. Until next time.